Hi everyone, Robert Keller here from Pure Motion Fitness in Rancho Bernardo. And I have here today an elastic loop. I shared previously the importance of hip power and how that's so significant in quality of movement, whether it's rising from a seated position, maintaining a healthy gait pattern, ascending, descending stairs, getting in and out of your car. Certainly from a sports standpoint, hip power is essential in any athletic pursuit. So those of you that are into cycling, tennis, golf, whatever it may be, strengthening the hip and glute area is one of the most important things that you could do for yourself, not only in terms of your lower body power, but then also saving strain in the lower back area. So the loop is something that's pretty simple, just an elastic loop that I'm going to show you a couple things you can do with. And these obviously travel real well, so you can throw them in your suitcase and take them with you. You can do these things at home. But I'll start off here with some exercises that you can do on the floor. The first one is a simple bridge. Sometimes it's a little tough to get it past the treads of your shoes, but it's important to note that the band should be placed above the knee. I often see, particularly with exercises that are done in a standing position or on your feet, where the band is placed around the lower leg, and that can create forces at the knee that may be harmful to the knee. So I want to place the band here at the bottom of the thigh so that the focus is in the hip area without the strain on the knee. On the bridge, I'm going to lie back and I want to keep my feet at the width of my hips. I want to then push out against the resistance of the band to activate a very significant muscle in the hip called the glute medius. Now the glute medius is responsible for abducting or lifting the leg to the side, as well as externally rotating the knee or the thigh, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. But for now, just keep in mind that you want to keep the knees at the width of the feet, maybe even slightly out towards the ankle. And on the bridge, what I want to do while maintaining that distance between the knees is push the hips up to where I feel a tightening in the glutes, and I want to return towards the floor, maybe just lightly contact the floor, but the idea is to keep the glutes active throughout the range of motion. So that's the bridge. I'd recommend anywhere from 12 to 15 repetitions. And then we could go on to an exercise called a clamshell. And I often see compensations on the clamshell where the heel of one of the feet will lift from the floor. But what I want to try to do is set up a straight line between my ankle, hip, and shoulder. I want to avoid turning at the waist while lifting the knee. And so I'm keeping my feet together from heel to toe. The heel of, in this case, my left foot is held down to the floor. I don't let that lift at all. And I want to exhale while lifting the knee, performing the clamshell, again, without any rotation in my back. All right, so sometimes if we're focused on, oh, I want to make sure I lift my knee nice and high, we forget that we're trying to really focus on the hip musculature and we start to turn in the core. Actually, we want to do just the opposite. We want to focus on the hip without core movement, stabilizing the lumbar spine, as I've talked about before, while exercising the hips. So that's the clamshell. Moving on, I'm going to come up here to a standing position. And again, I want to have the band positioned around the thigh, just above the knee. I was talking about this slight external rotation or turning out of the knees. If you imagine you're standing on two dinner plates and you were trying to spin them on the surface of the floor, you notice how my knees flare slightly, okay? That's preventing the knees from collapsing, and that's a function of the glute medius, which is here in the hip. I'm using the glute maximus for the squat itself. And so the combination of activation of those muscles, descending to whatever depth you feel comfortable, you can bring the arms up in front and maybe get a little bit more depth, but my knees should track in line with the outer part of my ankle. I never want to let them collapse. The other thing I'm doing by turning out just a little bit is creating an arch in my foot, which is essential to preventing the rolling in of the foot, or what we call pronation. So I can get some nice depth, and not only am I working the glutes, the glute maximus, but the band is helping to activate the glute medius. We can also move across the floor from a semi-squat stance, moving laterally. I want to make sure I keep my upright posture. I want to take steps that allow me to keep tension on the band, so I don't want to bring the foot in too close. And after I've traveled a distance, maybe 8 or 10 repetitions, then I'll travel back the other way. And so again, another means by which you can strengthen the glute maximus and the glute medius for the purpose of developing more power in the hips. So those are a couple of my favorite loop band exercises, and I look forward to catching up with you another time. Thanks so much.